Live.
Cool. Let me just post on Discord that we're live, so we don't forget that like last time. All right. Cool. Hey everyone, welcome to another demo. What number is this, Louis? 28?
28. 28. Hey, what's up, Vinny?
Insane. So we've been doing this for 28 weeks.
No, actually,
Is someone in the chat?
Yeah, Vinny is here.
Oh, cool. Hey, how's it going? Let me pull up the chat real quick because I didn't do that.
Go to Notion. There is a page about Twitch, and then there's a link for chat if you need it.
All right, cool. I got it over here. I'll put on the side. Anyways, hey everyone. This demo is our 28th demo. I think we might have skipped like maybe 1 week or 2 weeks or something. So we've been pretty consistent about this. So if all things considered, I think it's about 28, 29 maybe weeks of doing demos. So happy to share one more. What are we gonna do for the 30th demo, Louis? Any milestone stuff?
I'm not sure, man. I'm not sure.
We should throw a party. We should throw like a plasma party.
Okay. Who will we invite to the party?
Yeah, or maybe we wait for 50, huh?
Yeah, we should. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll invite. Well, we can like, kind of like wedding crashers, right? Like if we're in the spirit of extending, we can extend a party, so we can like crash a party and then make it a plasma party. That could be an approach we take.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, super excited. This week we have a gothic theme. So if you guys haven't noticed, like it's like a little bit of an Easter egg. Maybe I'm spoiling, like I'm revealing the magician's code a little bit. But every change log, and you can look at the change log by going to plasma.com/. What was it again?
Changelog? Oh, /p. Changelog.
Yeah. /p. Yeah. So /p/changelogs, and every time we do a change log, we have like a little blurb here. Usually it's either space themed, pirate themed, and so on. This week is gothic themed, so that's pretty fun. And the reason it's a little bit gothic theme is because like we have a lot of dark mode in this change log, and wanted to reflect that a little bit with this theme. But yeah, jumping right in, like the big thing for this week is a complete redesign of Itero. So we took a look at Itero, and we thought about how can we improve the user experience and look of Itero so that it matches kind of that standard that we set for like what is a nicely designed product. And one of the things that was a little bit of an inspiration for this was this book that Louis and I read, which I highly recommend. It's called Refactoring UI. It's made by the person that made Tailwind, and we literally took all of those principles and we learned a lot from them, and we just applied it to this website. So now everything is like more like, I don't know, spaced out. Like they say like, oh, you should start with too much space and then like shrink the space. So we did that. We looked through our colors. So before we were using a lot of colors, and this kind of redesign, we thought about, okay, how about we really limit the color choices we have? And we actually started with grayscale in the beginning. So we made everything grayscale and then very intentionally added color to things. That way we can play around more with like, actually, rather than making this a different color to highlight it, maybe we should change the font size to be bigger, or maybe we make the font more bold. We also thought about a bunch of stuff related to icons, like how icons are scaled and all these things that this book talks about, and we really improved it. So this is like an example of the dashboard on Itero, and this is the Plasma team. This is the various different extensions we have. And then if you look at the kind of settings for the extension, you can see that we also redesigned that a little bit, and we decided to go with a more of a purple theme rather than black and gray. That was another big design choice. But yeah, like really happy with how it turned out. Obviously, this is only the first iteration. There's going to be more, and we'll just keep making the product look nicer, perform better, be more optimized, and add new features as well. So that should be exciting. But just to highlight, yeah, we have a big Itero redesign. Um, yeah, that's basically it. Anything else you want to add, Lewis?
Um, anything on this? Okay, should I add something or should I ask you a question? Hmm.
Um, like,
What's the most challenging
yeah, up
part
to you.
about this? What is the most challenging part about this redesign? Because you are the person spearheading it. You're the leader of this effort.
The biggest challenge was so I used a lot of so one of the things that I found to be very helpful was I use a lot of products that are really well designed, in my opinion, like based on my taste. And there was this podcast that I was listening to from what's his name, the music producer. Oh man, Rick something. I don't remember. He's like a legendary music producer, and one of the things he talked about is like, why do they pay him so much? And he said that it's because of his taste, his sense of taste. And one of the things I noticed about myself when I was like looking at how to redesign stuff, I noticed that things don't look good. Like there's some things that don't match my taste, and that's what I mean by don't look good. Yet I didn't know what specifically it was about the design that made them not look good. And that was the biggest challenge, is figuring out like, okay, this doesn't look good. It makes sense, but like why and how do I fix it? And that's where that book Refactoring UI really came in handy. It created a lot of these concepts that when applied make a lot more sense. Um, but yeah, that was the biggest challenge for sure.
Hey, Vinny has some
Um,
question on Nero actually.
cool. So just to stop right there, yeah. So just to stop right there in terms of like the stuff, we can look at the chat and answer any questions. So let me see.
Maybe you should open the chat right on
Cool. So yeah, basically the question was that.
I thought maybe you might be able to open the chat on your Windows on your desktop actually, so audience can see it. But maybe later.
Oh, but everyone can see the chat on their client, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. You're right. But not on YouTube. Not on YouTube.
So all the YouTube people go to Twitch.
All right.
Next time we might have that. Yeah, that's a good addition. But for the time being, like, um, we can just summarize. The basic idea here is like, what is Itero? What are the features it has, and kind of like where can someone see what Itero is and all that stuff. Um, I think the best the best thing right now that we have, the best kind of like demonstration of everything that Itero is kind of like on our landing page. Um, so like this here is basically
By the way,
um,
just to interrupt you a little
what
bit.
we have kind of. Ab-
Right now, you're only showing your Itero design redesign
oh,
browser.
oops! I'm only share. Yeah. Good call. Let me share my entire browser. All right, cool. Is that visible, Lewis?
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Awesome. So this pricing here, so like just to add more context, like this is kind of like the paid product. So this staging environment, that's what we call Itero. Let's say here Itero. Um, and then when you go down to the pricing, um, this is for Itero. So if you are looking for like kind of these features here for the staging environment, you would you would like look at this pricing here. The big thing on our side is like we have a browser extension platform, and that's what encapsulates the framework, the staging environment, and the auto publish. And then this pricing is for specifically the staging environment part. If you want kind of, so the way I would think about this is like that pricing is for the staging environment, and then we also kind of have pricing for the actual framework. The framework is completely free, but if you want additional stuff, so like if you're not really looking for a staging environment, that's totally fine. Like some people maybe have their own, or they don't want to migrate over to Plasmo. There's also a sponsor thing. So we have different kind of tiers, and that might be more valuable. For example, like let's say you want a 1 hour pair programming session. You want to prioritize a medium size RFC, things like that, then you would kind of like pay here. Otherwise, if you're looking for the staging environment, you would look at this pricing here. That's kind of the idea. Cool. So hopefully that kind of explained that a bit. We plan to kind of like add more to this platform, which is why like this pricing is only for the staging environment, but eventually like it'll tie into the platform more. The framework will always be free and open source, but there's going to be other stuff like in the platform where this pricing will make sense. Yeah, cool. Sounds
Yeah.
good. So
He would so
that
in the
was
comment section he
that
was
was
asking what would be the additional feature.
yeah. So that's all of this stuff here. Does that like kind of answer the question, or am I missing something?
When he said additional feature, did he mean yeah, he asked about the framework. What are the additional feature about the framework, not the staging environment?
Yeah. So that's why I was saying like this pricing is for the staging environment, and you get the staging environment if you pay. All of this other stuff is free, but we will eventually have more cool stuff in the platform that's not just the staging environment.
I think he was asking about the
And then
sponsor.
if you
He was
want
asking
to,
about like the sponsor.
yeah. So what did I miss?
Like what are the extra stuff about the framework if they sponsor Plasma?
Okay, yeah. So like you can have like you can prioritize a bug report. So for example, like if your company, well, right now, I mean, just to give a little sneak peek, we have a thing in the framework that we're building for main world content script injection, right? Like if your company has that issue, and right now we're gonna fix it, right? We're gonna not fix it, but add that as a feature. But maybe like a month ago or 2 months ago, you've been dealing with this issue and it's like super annoying. You can pay us and we will prioritize that feature. So that's kind of what you can do with the sponsorship.
Yeah.
Um, on top of that, like integrations, open source jam, like there's a bunch of stuff. But yeah, if you want to take a look, that's in the GitHub sponsors link in the framework. You can see that. That's separate from this stuff here, which
Yeah.
is more about the staging environment. The only caveat to that, just to add, is this enterprise tier. Now this one is quite costly. The reason why is because there's a lot more kind of features on top of everything being increased. Like you have 3 teams and so on. You also have the ability to prioritize Plasmo's feature roadmap. So if your company is kind of like building something in, let's say you're building a browser extension and messaging is super painful, right? Always having to like make sure that messages get sent in the right order. You have to make sure that like you have all this like spaghetti code and so on, boilerplate. It's really annoying. Um, you can say like, hey, Plasmo, it would be amazing if you made messaging a lot easier in Chrome extensions. And then we would do that. And then now your team can reduce a lot of your code because you can use our abstraction. Same is true if like, let's say you're building an input field kind of extension where you extend all the input fields on all these different websites. A lot of times there are a lot of edge cases because different websites potentially do weird stuff with input fields, and you have this massive like boilerplate code that figures out input field stuff. And eventually we want to build that with Plasmo, but maybe you don't want to wait. And that's where this comes in, where you can tell us like, hey guys, input fields are such an annoying thing to deal with, or even buttons. Like sometimes when you click a button programmatically, you have to do other weird stuff. So if you do this enterprise tier, you can say like, hey, can you make buttons better? Can you make like input field extending input fields better? And then we would do that. So that's kind of what this one is all about, which is separate kind of from the
Mhm.
staging environment, but still has a lot of those things in here as well.
Yeah. There's
Cool.
also on the monthly sponsorship would also granting you access to some of our private repo pertaining to like the 50 extensions.
Yeah, that's over here in the 25 a month.
Mhm.
Cool. So let's continue then. The Liveblocks case study. This one is pretty cool. So um, one of the really interesting things that happen here is Liveblocks. If you guys don't know, it's this company that makes it super easy to build like collaborative apps, like multiplayer apps. Um, and they wanted to have a better developer experience for their developers. So if anyone has built any sort of like React apps or anything like that, you know that there's this extension called React DevTools. Redux has something similar. So Liveblocks decided, multiplayer is hard, multiplayer is difficult to kind of debug and stuff, and it would be amazing if there was actually a real-time debugger that users can use when they're developing their Liveblocks extensions or Liveblocks apps. So they built a DevTools extension that's over here. They built one with Plasmo, and it is really, really sleek and really awesome. And it really showcases the power of Plasmo. And you can read all about it here, but in a nutshell, like they never built a browser extension before, and they were able to get up and running super quick because of Plasmo. Um, and the kind of highlight that they talked about was like like I think the biggest one that was super interesting because we were very intentional in this, and it's really cool to see that people are talking about that as the highlight, is that Plasma offers sort of like escape hatches, and we abstract in a good level. So what I mean by that is like, rather than like thinking about stuff in a very, very, very Plasma way, and so on. Instead, you can think of things in terms of like Plasma will abstract away this concept of bundling. Plasma will abstract away like browser specific quirks and other things like that. But if you want to just build a Chrome extension with the Chrome APIs and everything like that, it'll just work. And you don't have to necessarily like have all these weird Plasma specific things like functions and like life cycles and all that stuff. You can just think about things as you were to think about them with Chrome extensions. And that's kind of what they mentioned here, where like the biggest criteria for them was to not have tie-in and commitment to a specific platform. And Mark says that once they saw that the abstraction was mostly the React layer, and that they'd use the native Chrome APIs, they realized it was the right level of abstraction commitment. And I think this is really, really big. So, if you're looking to migrate over to Plasmo, it's not as scary as it sounds. We do say that we are a framework and so on, but our abstractions are in very strategic places that don't create a lot of lock-in. Um, and we even have just to highlight this a little bit more, in our docs, we have a whole section on migrating to Plasmo, and just to show that we are really, really committed to this idea, because I know developers don't want lock-in, but at the same time, we want to be opinionated. So we have this idea of opting out. And you can read about it here, where we abstract away the most common configuration in boilerplate code so that developers can work under the higher abstraction layer. But at the end of the day, like, you can use Plasma as much or as little as needed. And I think this is huge, and it's really awesome to see a customer talking about that. Um, and then along with that, I just wanted to highlight some key things, where it's like, definitely read this blog post if you want to see more advice on how to use Plasmo. And it might give a little bit more insight into kind of why building a browser extension makes sense, but also like maybe some features that you haven't heard of yet in Plasmo, like they were talking about kind of the different components that make up a browser extension and so on. So definitely take a look at our docs to kind of like learn more about um, some interesting things that you might not know about with Plasmo, like for example, sandbox pages. Like if you don't know what sandbox pages are with Chrome extensions, like you definitely read the docs like that Chrome provides. But at the same time, like we spent a lot of time making these really good, and that's one other highlight that Vincent, for example, shared, was like a lot of this stuff just clears up a lot of concepts that extension developers have. So yeah, definitely check out this blog post if you want to learn more. But super cool to see people using Plasma in really, really cool ways.
Yep. I wonder
Awesome.
how
So
long
then
did it take them. How long did it take them to build the extension?
yeah, so I think they built it at a hackathon.
So about a week or so.
Yeah, I think like yeah, maybe like 2 days, and then I think it was just more polish and stuff like that. But yeah, something like that.
Nice, nice.
Yeah, cool. So now we go to the 50 extensions update. Mindful tabs.
Yeah. So basically, Mindful tabs is an extension that automatically close your tab if you unless you click the keep the tabs button. And that's pretty much it. It's a very simple extension. But it worked very well. It worked to clean up your tabs.
That's awesome. Yeah, that makes sense, right? Like if you're
Yeah,
not
I mean the
using this
idea is
tab, delete it.
it's force you to think about if you need a tab or not, or like basically it also forces you to read quick, right? So if you know that you have only 470 seconds to to read the tab, okay, you will scroll, right? And you have a timer to force you that okay, after that I'm done. Yeah.
Yeah. And what if you were to kind of like build on top of this, like, and add more features, what would you add?
Huh. I wonder. Hmm, I think it. I'm not sure to be honest. It has most of the features I would want it to have for now, for the simple kind of feature. I don't want to bloat it too much. I want to keep it very simple. What would you add? What would you add? I wonder.
So you know what I would add?
Yeah. What would you
I
add?
would, instead of having it close after 470 seconds,
Uh huh.
um, I would have it translate words to a language I'm learning until at 470 seconds the entire page is translated.
Interesting. So that would be a different
So
extension then, I think.
technically it forces you to, yeah. Yeah, no, definitely. So like the first idea I had was, what if it would kind of like fade away, um basically, how it would be the opposite of like the Star Wars text, or
Uh-huh.
like the how ChatGPT, it will like stream text in. So imagine like it'll remove the web page from top to bottom, and then after 470 seconds, the entire web page is gone.
Yeah. Interesting.
So it kind of like forces you to read the page quickly, and it's like visualizing it as like
Hmm.
it's like disappearing in front of you,
Hmm.
like a book that's like burning or something.
Interesting.
Um, yeah, some thoughts of like, yeah, or what if when if you don't close it in time, you donate to a charity?
Hmm. Interesting. What made you think of that?
Or well, it's based on your hackathon project, right? Like a compiler error causes the laptop to explode.
Yeah.
What if it causes? What if you don't like imagine or imagine? So there's this programming language called Dark, and it's not the Dark that everyone's probably thinking of. It's this like obscure esoteric language, ESOLang or whatever. And they have this idea of I don't know what it's called, like guilt or sin or something, where like if you every time like you assign to a variable, it increases your guilt. And then it's a very like very weird language. And if the guilt gets too high, like it'll start flipping the bits of your variables.
Hmm.
And but then if you sprinkle holy water on them, it'll reset their guilt. Um,
Hmm.
so I wonder if like you do something where if you don't close the tab, it'll increase your guilt. And then eventually, if it gets too high, like maybe like it starts changing the text on new tabs without you knowing that it's different. Um, maybe making it like more depressing or something, and then eventually your browser gets really sad. And then you have to like cheer it up by like donating to like something, and then
Hmm.
eventually it's happy again. So it's creating like an emotion for your browser.
Hmm.
Yeah. You have to be very mindful of that, which is good with the name. Mindful tabs.
Interesting. I feel like,
But yeah.
I feel like,
Anyway, so some
I feel
weird
like
weird thoughts. Yeah.
that's some weird tangent you. But those tangent I can understand. Yeah, those tangent are playing on the word mindful, right? Right. A lot of the tangent that
Yeah,
you
you have to
mentioned.
be mindful of this. And
Yeah.
like yeah, the big thing is like how do you like if I think about, you know, the future of this, I think about like what is this causing right now, and it's basically making it so that when you close a when you keep a web page to open, it'll close the tab. But what if instead of that the impact is higher? That's what I was thinking about.
Well, I think it's not about impact, right? So okay, I understand that there's a gamification aspect that you drive into, which is fun. But I think the main utility of this extension was, I mean, the main reason why I made the extension was because someone, actually a contributor, a Wikipedia contributor, was looking for ways to eliminate tab, right? Because they open too many, and they never go back to those tabs. So I mean, the key utility is that
All right.
you know, I they just want to clean up the tab, right? And yeah,
Yeah, it's
so
sort of I guess two different approaches. One is like you have a messy room, you can hire someone to clean it every week, or you can learn not to be so messy. Right.
yeah, but I think the act of being messy help them do other stuff, right? Perhaps because of being messy, they are very productive. But also because of that, they would hire
Yeah, yeah,
people.
no, so like yeah, so like the two approaches, there's like two sets of people that would make sense to have on. Um,
Yeah,
I guess the
I would
direction I was
say,
thinking about was not in the like cleaning, but more in the like teaching.
yeah,
Yeah.
teaching and training. And I think the
So
teaching
like
and training,
how can you make the cleaning better?
okay, to make the clicking better. I wonder.
cleaning.
The cleaning. I mean, potentially it doesn't have to be a button, right? It could be a keyboard shortcut, or they can press a button. Or if there's any interaction at all on the page, like if there's any if they scroll past 50% of the page, we keep it.
Right.
But a lot of time, I don't know. The thing is, a lot of time people, even though people scroll past 50% of the page, they still want to close it, right? It's just an indicator that they have speed reading through it. So I'm not sure, but I think this extension, I would. How can I simplify it? Now is the thing. How can I simplify it even more? That is a better question. I don't want to bloat it. How can I simplify this thing even more? Make it more elegant, more simplified.
So what's the problem that you're solving?
Interesting. So okay, so go back to the problem. The problem is that whenever someone open a tab, um, they would like it to be automatically closed after a certain amount of time because they forgot about it basically. So someone open a tab and they might navigate to another tab, and over time they have 100 tabs now, and then they forgot to close them, and it's too late. So now the thing is they
So
want to
why
make
did they
sure
have 100 tabs?
because their past self did not close them, even though they should have closed them.
So what makes people want to close tabs?
I think it's so that they have a clean, nice tab UI, so they don't have to see the clutter. It's a Marie Kondo kind of stuff, right? You clean stuff. Basically, every time you see a piece of trash, you clean it up immediately. So there are two philosophies of cleaning trash, right? Either you fill the bucket and you throw it all in one go, or every time you see a piece of trash, you take it and you burn it right away. And so I think there are two school of way of cleaning trash, and I,
What makes it like useful to have like 10 tabs open?
what does it what does it make useful to have 10 tab open? When?
Yeah. When is that useful?
Hmm. Hmm. I don't think never actually. Never.
So it's so like if I'm on this page, right?
Okay,
And
actually, so there are
I
two.
wanna
I
learn. Yeah.
I would say that question I would answer it in two way in two mindset. So UX wise, people generally look at one tab, right? In terms of user experience wise and user kind of use. Foreign user wise, if I was a browser, if I was a person looking at a browser, I only look at one tab at once. Sure, sometimes I would look at two tab, but that's actually two windows. And I'm not actually look at two tab. I look at two windows, each open one tab, right? So as a person, as a user of browser wise, I only care for one tab at once. But from a perspective of the browser itself, of process, tabs are good because they are separate processes and they pre-render the pages so
Got
that
it. So like
you can
you
easily
wanna
switch between them.
you wanna think like more simply.
Yeah,
Like why do I have like these tabs open right now?
it's probably because you want to go back to them later.
Well, like why did I open these tabs? Why didn't I just click on the button and modify my existing tab?
Because you're afraid that you might missing something and you want to go back later. I don't know. By the way, that's my
Oh,
assumption.
it's
But that
it's like kind of like I'm talking about stuff, right? So I'm talking about pricing here, and then I
yeah.
mention here, you know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
and then like I'm talking about the Liveblocks case study, and then I want
Yeah.
to talk about it here, and
So
then
you
go
can go back
back.
and forth, right? So you can go back and forth, right?
All right, so that's is that kind of like what you think about when you say like when I ask the question? That's kind of in my mind. That's what I want to ask you. Like, what makes when is it useful to have 10 tabs open? It's like when you want to reference them together, right?
Well, but the thing is, imagine you don't need tab, right? Because the idea is if you can tell the browser, hey, I want to go back to that page. The idea of clicking on tab doesn't matter, right? If you can do that. Right now, the tab UI is supposed to is a very nice thing, but when you have 100 of them, it can be very cluttered, right? And you cannot even see the name, and it becomes very
Yeah,
hard
no,
to.
I understand, but like just thinking about the problem currently, right?
Yeah,
Like, so the problem, like thinking about it, tabs having like 5 or 10 tabs to do stuff like that is useful. But then, like in this case, we have gone past Liveblocks. We've gone past kind of thinking about Itero. So these tabs should not exist anymore, right?
yeah, they can be closed. Their context is gone
So
now.
right. So thinking through that, like how can you make this more simpler if that's the problem we want to solve? Like the context has shifted. That's the problem is the context has shifted and these tabs are no longer useful, right?
Yeah,
Um, they were useful before, but no longer useful. So here you're using this heuristic, like like you say the context switches after 470 seconds.
yeah,
Um, that's kind of the solution here, right? It's like just
yeah.
time.
Basically,
Um,
predetermined time. But yeah,
so
imagine if you can look
what
at
is
the
the more
history, right?
simpler what's kind of like a more simpler way to think about context changing?
Yeah, if you, I think you can okay, either you give it more data of your current context, or it can study your browsing behavior and understand right away that okay, this guy just needs this 3 tab now.
Got it. That sounds more complex, right?
It is much more complex, yeah.
So what's
No,
even
much
simpler
more.
than
No,
time?
it's much more complex. But then, no implementation complex, but the UI will be very simple because the person
But
doesn't
you're
have to.
looking at simplicity of the UI rather than implementation.
Yeah, yeah, no. So what I'm just describing right, is that the user does not even see the clicking, right? The browser manages all the tab for you. So based on your browsing
Yeah.
behavior and based on your context, whatever context you provide, right, it actually it will keep the tabs that you need.
Right.
In a sense, you have a just-in-time compiler or just-in-time tab opening.
Yeah, like imagine it can also like open tabs for you, right? Not just
Yeah,
close.
predict tab. Yeah, like basically
Yeah.
it study the past 100 user and it's like okay, of these 100 user, this is the tab they are likely going to open, and it
Yeah.
actually preload them. And so by the time you happen to open those tabs, it preload them and make them very fast. Huh, interesting.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's some technique to improve the browser. But I think that's basically what Google is, right? Google cached pages for most frequently used pages.
Yeah, like when I Google something on Google search, it'll prefetch the top 10.
Yeah, that's basically the
And
idea.
if you work in security, disable that, please. Um, anyway, yeah, that's sick. All right, cool.
All right.
Then we have the real price calculator. What's that about?
All right. So this is another idea that I got from Twitter. So basically, the idea is you can offer if you're living overseas and you have to ship a bunch of stuff from from USA or from somewhere else, and you know the estimated shipping price, and you know your tax calculation, your tax rate, then this extension allows you to do the calculation very easily. It converts the price and add the shipping cost and the tax for you,
Awesome, awesome.
and it replaces in place. It's very fun.
That's cool. Any challenges with this one?
Oh, the main challenge was the tax itself. Actually, I was trying to actually do automated tax, but it
Yeah.
just plain wrong. Basically, I can apparently there's a lot of tax API out there. That's yeah, you're not gonna get that for free. I guess there are some
Mm.
open source, but they actually for VAT tax, not for
Oh,
the
right.
US tax. Yeah, and US sales tax actually a little bit more complex. There's like city tax and also sales tax. Some
Yeah,
state,
and every state has a different sales tax, right?
yeah. So
Yeah.
I couldn't figure out the right number for New York and whatever. So I'm just no whatever. Just just add your own. Just add your fixed sales tax rate and do the estimation, right? Who cares?
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And then quick
All right.
webcam mirror.
All right. This is another fun extension that I built quickly to open a webcam. So this basically is open. I can open a webcam on my pop up on the pops up and take a look at my face and see if there's any issue with my face.
Before shopping? Why before shopping?
This actually so the idea came from shoot. All right, good. I look at the audio. I was like, did we disable the audio? No, playing audio is fine. So, uh, so like when a person going shopping, they might want to take a look at their face just to see if they're ready to shop.
What?
Yeah,
Wait, hold on. What do you mean?
before the person went shopping, right? For example, or they might, um, yeah, or they might want to look at their face and look into the item they're buying, right? It's a good way to actually determine if you really want the
What?
item or not, or if it's needed or not. Yeah,
But
apparently.
okay. So this isn't before shopping. This is when you're looking at the items. You want to have a little mirror to see like, is my face like, are my facial expressions positive? Kind of idea.
Well, no, okay. So my girlfriend. So the idea came with my girlfriend, and she told me about this whole issue amongst. Okay, I don't know, but I assume this can happen to all gender. I don't know, right? But the case for her is that when she goes shopping, she would like to look at her face
Oh,
just to
interesting. I
understand.
never heard of this before. That's why I'm so surprised.
Yeah, but I think this is a case for I don't know a lot of people who went shopping a lot. I don't shop that much, but apparently it's an issue for a lot of people when they shop. They will look at their face just to understand what they need. For example, if they need skincare, they might they might take a look at it and they might try
Oh,
to yeah they might basically try to understand what else they might need. And perhaps this mirror can actually be a storefront, right, for some of the products, so people can actually pick the product from the webpage and put it on as a filter on the camera, so that they can try out the product, right, to see how good it is. Some fun idea in the future, but like you know that is something that
yeah, no, definitely.
yeah,
Oh, I see.
but
So the idea is like you can kind of you look in the mirror and then it kind of maybe also jogs your memory, right? You're like, oh man, I should buy like I actually am running out of like eyebrow tint, right? I should buy
yeah,
that. Um, and instead of looking at a real mirror like somewhere, you would look at your face. So this is like like just to understand better, this is kind of like for shopping for things that are related to your face, like makeup, maybe like cleansers, things like that, like maybe even for your hair, like gels and stuff.
something along that line, yeah, something along that line.
I see. Okay. No, that makes a lot more sense to me. Because like what I was thinking about was like when you look at your face before shopping, it didn't click to me because I don't buy these products.
Okay,
It
the
didn't
thing is,
click to me kind of
so when I
like
actually
why
so
you would
here's
need to check your face.
no, but here's the funny thing. After I made it and I used it myself, I also realized that before you buy anything, look at your face. Actually, tell you if you need it or not.
How so?
I don't know. It's a psychological thing. I feel like.
Like is it more like you kind of like you look at your face and you have like this gut feeling?
Yeah, the gut feeling or something like that. Like when I deciding whether I want this or not, and I just open up the mirror and be like, do I want it or not? And then because usually, yeah, you actually don't see your face. I don't have a mirror, so yeah, I don't have a mirror in my room as well. So
Yeah, I
yeah,
guess I guess it forces you to kind of be introspective, right?
yeah, it's gotta be introspective. Look in the mirror. It's a fun one, by the way. So the key challenge for this one actually
Yeah.
to
So yeah.
one of the key challenge of this extension will actually to have the camera permission enabled. Yeah, pretty challenging. Uh, you have to proxy it through another page because you cannot actually.
Oh wow,
There's a bug.
that sounds tough.
There's a bug in Chrome that will not allow you to enable camera directly on pop-up. So you have to proxy the permission from. So I use the option page to enable the permission across the whole extension, and then every time I open the pop-up, I can actually enable it programmably. Yeah, it's pretty fun. I
Cool.
mean,
Damn.
yeah, the whole thing took me
And what's
about. Yeah, you would say what's that?
well, I think there's a lag. One thing I'm curious about is like, how long have you been using this now?
How long have I been using it? Using like the extension?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh wow, this is the huge lag, huh? Holy cow! But anyway, I've been using it for a week. We finished it last week. Yeah.
Any kind of like
But
further ideas you have other than shopping? Like, what would this be used for? Like, you have any thoughts after using it for a week?
well, you can really easily use it as a quick way to join a conference. Yeah. Well, okay. The I guess the crappy part is that you cannot really maintain the pops up open all the time. You cannot control that. So to actually have a web conference, web extension, you have to spawn a separate pops up. Then that can always be open. But this pops up, this actually opened right into the pops up
Right.
of the Chrome window of the Chrome extension window, and if you click outside the web page, it's gone. So it's a bit finicky, but it's good for a quick check of your face. Yeah. By the way, someone posted a comment
Yeah. What do you mean? Like on our YouTube or something?
on Twitch on Twitch.
What did they say?
So I can read it. So, hello, how do we integrating third-party library in content script in Plasma, especially the order in which content script get evaluated? Only answer if this is the right place for this question. Thanks.
Okay. Well, thanks for like being so thoughtful with the question. Um, I think like what we can potentially do is like we can go through this demo, um, and then answer that question after we're done with kind of running through like the changelog.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you can stick around, you can post on our Discord. So you can get to our Discord by going to plasma.com/s/d, and you can post on there, and we can get back to you. But if you're still around towards the end of the Twitch stream, maybe let's see, maybe like 10 more minutes, we can answer your question here as well.
Yep.
Cool. Yeah.
Awesome.
So quick webcam mirror. That's awesome. And it's like a little pocket mirror. You can think of it
Nice.
like that for
Basically a
your
pocket mirror.
browser. Awesome. So now we have Open Assistant extension.
Yeah. So Open Assistant is the is open source and kind of a what is it? Crowdsource Chat GPT effort basically. And right now it's in the data gathering phase. So right now the whole kind of data like question answer database is being crowdsourced by volunteer, and people are just basically asking question, evaluating answer, and also like sorting answer actually sorting which one's the best. So right now they're trying to get to about 50,000 prompt and answer in within the database to start doing the training to make a yeah.
What are they at the moment? How many?
So 2 days ago they were at 15,000. Their goal is
Okay.
50,000. So they have 35,000 to go. I think they get there soon. This extension basically allow you to, contributing the data, sorting or do some random tasks, either by going to a new tab or by opening the pops up. Yeah.
So it'll kind of show you like a thing that you can help out with right away in your new tab or pop-up. That's the idea?
Precisely, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. So
What like have you like talked to them about this?
I ping it on the server. Got 3 thumbs up. But I think they not. It's not like a. It's not like a big effort for them. Not a extension is not being on their kind of I think idea realm yet at the moment. But maybe in the future. I don't know. We will re-engage in the future. But yeah.
Cool. And is it just an iframe?
Yeah, very much. It is an iframe that is proxy. It proxy the cookie straight from that from their app. Yeah. So
That's
make it
sick.
very. So basically, you just sign in from their Open Assistant page, and the cookie and whatnot get streamed right into the browser extension. And so every time that you open up the new tab, you open up that page, that the random task page, and you can do something quickly. Yeah.
Awesome. Wow, super cool. Yeah, so if you guys want like some more open assistant stuff, you can sign up for our sponsorship. Where is that thing now? Yeah, right here. So you can gain access to all these different extensions plus all the other ones we've already built in the previous weeks by going to this GitHub link. And then just speaking about kind of the more meta conversation around these 50 extensions. So our original goal was kind of to ship 50 extensions by March 31st. After like a month trial of doing this, one thing that we noticed is like we can do something where I mean, technically we can ship like all 50 in this week. Um, and the extensions can just be like literally little images on your new tab. Like like if you want I don't know, Neil deGrasse Tyson images every new tab with a quote, we can build that, right? That's like probably going to take less than an hour. And then we can ship it. And that can be considered one extension. But one thing that we're thinking about a lot is rather than building a lot of extensions that aren't very valuable, um, and that's kind of what the 50 would be because the time that it takes to build valuable extensions is quite high, and we won't be able to hit March 31st with 50 extensions. We want to optimize quality over quantity. Still keep the quantity relatively high, but definitely not at the 50 level. So the idea that we have is to change the plan a little bit. So instead of pushing 50 extensions, we're going to invest in building 20 extensions. And if we add more, that's going to be cool. But 20 is a great goal for us to build very high quality extensions that would provide a lot of value. And at the end of the day, also showcase how powerful extensions can be. Like a lot of times, when we think about browser extensions, for people that if you're watching the stream, you're likely not this kind of person or not having these thoughts. But a lot of people around the world that aren't really into browser extensions, um, they think of them like toys. And one thing that we think about a lot is because the tooling wasn't there before. It was very difficult to make a very high quality, very complex, if you think about it, browser extension. Like Grammarly, even though it looks so simple, building that was probably definitely very hard, and so on and so forth. So when people think about browser extensions, they don't realize first how difficult it is to make them, um, but secondly and more importantly, they kind of think of them as like maybe these little widgets, maybe these like little things that improve the experience here and there, but they don't think about things that really fundamentally change the game of how people use browsers. And that's why we want to kind of like level it up a little bit, build fewer extensions, but build more powerful extensions that really showcase how powerful browser extensions can really be. So that's kind of why we changed the plan, but still excited to bring really awesome extensions forward. Um, and on top of that, this also gives us a lot more time to actually improve all of our tools from like the framework all the way to Itero, all the way to like browser platform publisher. So instead of cranking out extensions all the time. We can think more about how do we build a high quality extension that at the same time improve our existing tools, which I think will benefit the community a lot more. So that's kind of the approach we took here. Um, but yeah, that's it on the 50 extensions. If you want to gain access to them again, check out the sponsor link. And then finally, we have some bug fixes in the Plasmo framework.
Yeah.
So, Louis, you talked about that there was a storage API bug fix. Like, what's the deal with that?
Yeah, so this pertains mainly to the secure storage API. So the the so the initial implementation of secure storage has the wrong size for the encryption buffer, and so it did not. So basically, we got a buffer overflow basically. Yeah, and so I fixed that. I fixed the size of the buffer, so now we don't have any buffer overflow anymore, and secure storage working. Yeah, but that
Awesome.
basically was what
And
was
what
the
other kind of like bug fixes do you have?
um. We also have some fixes within the framework that those are patches. Yeah, so far we have, I think we released 5 patches over the past week. We didn't make them into a version, uh, but if you go to the Plasma repo and go to the comments, we have uh, the fix on the icon buffer. So previously there was a race condition with icons, with how we're using the icon buffer, and reusing the icon buffer instead of like, and because of reusing them, we got into this kind of race condition, which caused the framework to crash some occasionally. And so the fix was to just copy the entire buffer, the binary buffer of the icon, and resize them there. Yeah. So that's one fix. Another fix is we have the CSP, the content script policy generator for MV2. There was a small bug that caused the content security policy to be wrong, to have the undefined string for MV2, and so that is also fixed. Uh, Weirdly, that the framework been out for a while, and this is the first time we've seen it. So yeah, somehow this bug kind of escaped like the whole community. Uh,
Yeah, super interesting. Yeah, super weird, right?
yeah, and oh, lastly, we added more prompt. We added more prompt when creating a new extension. Yeah, so
Okay. Where is
bas-
that?
so basically when you adding more prompt for other, yeah. So now it should ask you for the description as well as the author name as well when creating a new extension. Yeah,
Nice. Yeah, that should be good.
yeah,
Um, nice. Cool. Yeah, there's a bunch of cool stuff happening, not just bug fixes, but also little things like that.
yeah. And then
What version can people? Yeah,
one last small thing is we fixed a small bug within the messaging API as well, with the port. There's a there's an issue with the port binding that we fixed last week as well. So now the port API should work properly, and we also added some example on how to use a port API within the example as well.
nice. Awesome. Yeah, so definitely check that out.
And then
Um,
all of this should be
just to highlight
available.
as well, like
Oh yeah,
I
go
think
for it.
there's a lag. Just to continue, there's like just to highlight as well, like this messaging stuff. You know, we've updated the example, but at the same time, there's also so many other examples. Just to reference the live blocks blog post, that's a real tongue twister. Um, you can check out the examples, and we've made them very solid for like I want to use Firebase auth in my extension, and you can literally jump right in and have this be your base and then build on top of it. I want to use Google Analytics. You can do that too. With the create Plasmo command,
Mhm.
you can totally like do pm create Plasmo, and then you do dash dash, and then you give it an example. So in this case, if you're looking to use the port stuff with messaging, or you want to just have like a really solid way of thinking about how can I use messaging in every way possible just to kind of understand it better, you can do that here where it's like with messaging, and that's what you just updated, Lewis.
Yep.
So that's another thing that to highlight. Like whenever we add these like fixes, patches, changes, whatever like features, we also try to update the examples as much as possible, so that when you use the examples, you're gonna get the kind of like latest way of doing stuff.
Mhm.
So that's like really great if you're wanting to jump right in.
Yeah, the other fun part is we use example to actually test out the feature as well. Mm.
Yeah. So if it's not working on your end, but it works, but you're expecting it to, like with the example, file an issue, and we will take a look at it, because our the idea that we have in our head, and that's kind of what we always test stuff, right? But sometimes things get lost. Is these examples should always work.
Mhm.
If it's not working, either like maybe you tweak stuff, or maybe there actually is something wrong with the example. But usually, it should always work.
Yeah. All
Awesome,
right.
cool. Well, that's pretty much it, right? Like, anything else you want to add on your end? I know we're done with the change log, but any other things that we kind of missed, or
I think that should be it for the changelog. Yeah, with bit.
awesome, cool. Well, everyone, we're gonna be doing a little bit of a Q&A. So if you don't want to stick around with that, we're basically done with the change log. Thanks for tuning in, um, and we'll see you guys next week. Now doing the Q&A stuff. Lewis, you wanna like read through that question again, or if there's other questions, and also like if you guys have more questions, like feel free to put them in here, and we'll try to answer as best we can.
Yeah. All right. So the question we had was, how do we integrate third-party library in content scripts in Plasma, especially the order in which content script get evaluated? So there is, I guess, there are two. So there is the order of evaluation for content script, and there's a question of third-party library. Okay, and we have a new question, but
Cool.
let's focus on the first question.
Um,
All right.
yeah. Do you wanna go ahead?
Yeah. So for the first question, so in terms of third-party library, with Plasma, we leverage the npm ecosystem, so you can basically import any third-party library, right? When you do npm install or pnpm install any dependency, you can import them. Given they have a browser target module, so either common.js or ESM should work. Some ESM does not work, so be careful of that. We hope to support all of them by end of years, but at the moment, some ESM module will not be imported properly. But we've tried with a bunch of them, and so far they seem to work just fine. Yeah, but yeah, can you elaborate on what do you mean by third party library? Do you mean by third party library like Inbox SDK? For example, we actually have an Inbox SDK example in the example folder that show how to consume a content script coming from a third party library. You basically just import those script inside your content script, and that's it. And the idea is that when you want to control the order of how your content script should get evaluated, just use a content script and import them appropriately, and you should be good to go.
Yeah, so just to take a couple steps back, like I think this example is a little bit tricky. Maybe we shouldn't talk about this
Okay.
because doesn't this like do weird stuff with like
No, not
actually
really.
monkey patching some stuff,
No, it doesn't.
if I
Not
remember correctly?
anymore. Not anymore. You go look at
It's like
content
doesn't
TS.
Inbox SDK require you?
No. So
Okay, so we don't
yeah,
do that stuff anymore.
no, it's actually very yeah, it's actually right into the workflow. So here, right, you basically just import the inbox SDK core, right, and you go out and take a look at their, and if you go out of that page and take a look at their package JSON, that our package JSON, sorry.
Yeah, so to like do the whole flow, basically you're on npm and you're like, dang, this package looks awesome. It's a third party library, right? Third party package, and you want to use it. You can go here to like if you look at, this is your Plasma extension, right? With like, imagine this is yours. Um, there's this like package JSON file. That's what Lewis was just talking about. And then here in the dependencies, these are kind of like what are the third party or even like first party, but third parties included as well, dependencies that I want to have in my project. So over here we have at inbox SDK / core, and you'll see that it's the same name as in npm. And then you can just specify kind of like the version. And then you do like npmi or ppmi yarn install one of these tools. So you have to use a package manager to do that. So whatever package manager you use to do like create Plasma, that's the one you would likely use here. And then as Lewis was saying, you create a content.ts file, you import it the way that it needs to be imported. You can look at the documentation. Like we're highlighting Inbox SDK, but obviously like any third party kind of library was going to have its own documentation, and it's going to have its own way of like, how do I actually like perform an import. So take a look at that. And then once you've sort of imported here, Plasma takes care of all the rest. So you don't have to worry about how do I bundle this? How do I make sure that these files are downloaded? This all gets bundled when you build your extension. So there's no remote code stuff happening. And then once you have those files bundled, you like basically you can just use it once you've imported all the things you need to import. But that's kind of the idea with importing third party. You don't have to worry about like all this other stuff that you used to before you were using Plasma.
Yeah. It's also another cool stuff is that if you need to include any static asset from that package, for example, so Inbox SDK actually have some static asset that you need to include. You can use the web accessible resource in the manifest in our package JSON. So if you go to the package JSON and scroll down a little bit, here we have it point to the so web accessible resource is saying that hey, this resource should be available to mail.google.com, and basically Plasma would copy this for you and referencing it correctly for you.
Yeah. So just to highlight, this is like an advanced concept, and most packages don't require this.
Mhm.
It's just like a nice thing to know about. And like in this case, Inbox SDK requires this. That's why we have it here. So in case like you ever run into these kinds of issues, it's very, very rare, but it could happen. You can take a look at this. But for the most part, like, do not worry about this, basically.
Mhm.
Um, but this is a very, very useful feature because a lot of times with these types of third-party extensions or third-party npm modules, they might have something like this. So this is like a pro tip, like really, really cool feature of the Plasma framework. If you just want to import a third-party library, put it in your package JSON, put it in your content, import it. If it doesn't work, you might need to use something like this. You can post on our Discord server, and we can help you out. Or you can try it on your own if you're noticing that there are um, these sort of like JavaScript files that your content script needs to access. Then definitely put it in here.
Yeah.
Otherwise, just message us and we'll help you.
Yeah.
Same goes, right, Lois, like you were saying about ESM. Um, like those errors are also very tricky. Basically, if you're having any issues with bundling, I know that sometimes people have said like this isn't working, and then we say, oh, it's because you needed the no hoist target like flag when you're doing Plasmo build. So those things are kind of very opaque, and we understand that. So if you're experiencing issues with bundling, if you're experiencing issues where like you think maybe this is necessary, these are sort of more advanced concepts that you really need to dig into. Just post in our Discord server, and we'll help you out. Like we've done it a bunch of times, but I understand that if it's your first time, it might be a little bit more tricky to understand what's really going on.
Mhm. Yeah. All right. Let's take a look at the second
Cool.
question.
You said that there was another question.
Yeah. Second question is, what is Plasmo's specific way of sending message from background service worker to content scripts based on tab ID? So
Got
the
it.
doc,
So the way we think about oh, what's up?
I think the lacking is pretty bad, huh?
Yeah.
Oh boy. Hmm. All right. So I was saying that the documentation here is a little bit outdated, but if you look at some of our yeah, so this one used the port API, but we actually have we do have a send to active tab, API in the messaging API. We just haven't documenting it yet. Yeah, so send to active content script. So this function will allow you to send a message to the current active content script, either based on the tab ID you specify in the request, or using the most active tab. Now the thing is that if you have the tab ID already, you probably want to use you will probably use the Chrome.tab, the Chrome tab messaging API. But by the way, all the Chrome API are available in Plasmo. Like Plasmo does not do anything with the Chrome API at all. So you can just use the raw Chrome API.
Yeah, you can use the raw Chrome API. In this case, like if you have the tab ID, then maybe you don't have to do that. But I think probably like I don't know. I'm just assuming, but like maybe the person that sent us the question didn't even know that we have a send to active tab, so they assumed that they need a tab ID to do that. Um, Basically, if you want to send to the active tab, you should use what Louis is talking about. Send to active content script. We don't have an example for it, and we don't have docs for it yet. Sorry about that. We just pushed this, I think, yesterday. But the idea is similar to kind of how we think about send to background. So if you follow this example, it should be pretty straightforward. So rather than import send to background, instead you import send to active content script. And then over here, when you're doing await send to background, you actually do await send to active content script. And what you do is like you can actually send the message this way. The cool thing about this as well, just a pro tip. So like, yeah, basically you do a wait send to active content script, and then you give it your message, and it'll do everything for you. On the content script side, like what do you need to have, Lewis, for the content script side? Like, how do you receive this?
You have to use the chrome.tab.on message for now.
Yeah, so we don't have like an abstraction on the other
I
end.
think
You'll have to just
there's
do
a
like
hook.
the on message, right?
Is there a hook on the? Yeah. So one of the thought I should have to make a hook for this. So go to the hook.ts file. Do we have that here or not? If not, then yeah, it's a missing pieces. Yeah, I don't think there's any. Yeah, but supposedly there should have been a
Yeah,
like
so
a
you'll
use.
have to, right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
go
so
ahead.
on the content script side, just put like receive the message how you would with a regular Chrome, and then on this side, and then you could just wait for us to add this hook. If you're not using React, then this kind of doesn't apply. So it's like an assumption that you're using React. But in the content script, otherwise, just in general, like just have your listener. Um, and what I would say as well is like one pro tip. You mentioned you have a tab ID. You can also add a tab ID to the request here, and that'll actually like use that tab ID. So you can see here, like it'll use that tab ID rather than getting the active tab. So it's just another pro tip in case you're curious. But um, yeah, like the big thing here is, why would you use this rather than just a Chrome API? We add some nice things like we add the ability to check the active tab. We also make it so that it's promise based, where we will reject based on the error that happened. We'll resolve it. So yeah, like we improve the user experience a little bit, but if you want to use the Chrome API, totally fair game as well. So yeah, just look at that example, because that's basically what this is, except instead of sending to background, it's sending to the content script.
Mhm.
Cool. Lewis, with that, I think we should wrap it up, just
Yep.
because the stream's been going on for a while. But thanks so much for tuning in. Love to kind of help out any further. If you would post on our Discord, we will get back to you. So if you have any like issues further, maybe the send to active content script is causing some issues, or maybe like importing these third party libraries is becoming like a little bit tough, post on the Discord. We have a bunch of channels. If you could use the threads, that would be great instead of on the launch channel. But regardless, just post, and then we'll guide it in the right way where it needs to be. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Thanks everyone for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next week.
Awesome. See y'all.